wisdom of Solomon. I told God that I wanted the wisdom so I could be of honorable service to other people. In some ways, God answered my prayer. Throughout my lifetime, it has happened that many people have sought me out when they needed to talk about their problems, fears, concerns, and when they had a need for conversation and companionship. That realization played a key role in my deciding what to do with the rest of my life. In some ways, how the wisdom came to Solomon along with the costs came to me as well. Disillusioned with our minister's lack of clarity about God's will and His Word, I distanced myself from the church. Instead, I gravitated in the spring of 1975 to time with friends, and I threw myself into the job at my golf course. I laid at a golf course. I laid drainage pipe in the low areas of the course where water was inclined to gather, after someone else dug hundreds of feet of ditches. Our task was to lay pipeline and cover it with gravel and dirt. The weather was bitter and cold, and the work was exhausting. Although I was still in high school and underage, the owner was more than willing to provide a way for us to take the edge off the cold by giving us apricot brandy, which was my first experience with alcohol, and I needn't say, not the last. In addition, I had not dated much and without a date for the senior prom. Some friends introduced me to a girl and prodded me and suggested I take her to the prom. I did, and we dated for a while after. This was my first girlfriend and one that exposed me to situations that I'd only heard about and read. After a short while of dating, I ended the relationship. The breakup was so traumatic that I did not date for a long time. Seriously. When summer ended, it was time for me to secure another job. I wasn't going to go to college because I didn't know what I was going to do at that time. I didn't know what course to study and what to major in, so I decided to apply at a retail chain that was opening up in Columbiana. I was hired. A friend of mine actually got me in to be hired in this store, and I helped prepare the store for the grand opening. And once opened, I worked in the automotive department. Come to find out later that they were going to lay me off of the automotive department, but the software manager requested me to move over to the men's clothing, which I did. I later became the department head, and for a while I served as a union steward. I learned that either with 2 years of on-the-job experience, with a 4-year college degree, I could qualify for a manager trainee position. I decided to pursue this goal. For 3 years, I prepared myself for a management position by excelling in what I did at work. Also at that time, I was partying with my friends, going out, got an apartment, going to concerts. When I say partying, yes, I did inhale. Not proud of it, but I did. That was the 70s. That's what happened. I know a lot of people said no. I wasn't one of them. Once I was able to apply, and only took me a brief while to secure a manager training position, which required me to relocate. They wouldn't allow me to do the training at the same place where I worked because of the people I was going to be working with were the people that I'd be managing over later on, so they didn't want me there. My relocation was to Moundsville, West Virginia. There I secured an apartment. I was excited and ready to embark on this new leg of my journey in life. I was moving away from the area that I grew up in for the first time. And that is Beginnings. We traveled actually across the United States, camping. But as far as living anywhere else besides Columbia and Ohio or in that county, I didn't. The furthest I ever drove or when I was a kid is up to Youngstown, Ohio, and not much beyond there. I had really no reason to go anywhere else. Everything I needed was right there. I had no interest in poking my nose outside of Columbiana County or Mahoning County. Chapter 3, The Hook. The quote here is, the type of bait determines the size and type of fish that can be caught. However, if the fish is sufficiently hungry, curious, or fascinated, it'll bite on anything. Moving to Moundsville, West Virginia was a new experience for a boy who had not traveled much beyond Columbiana, Ohio. Although Moundsville was only a few hours from home, it may as well have been halfway around the world, as far as I was concerned. Found an apartment on Main Street, but it was tiny but adequate and perched above a small paint and wallpaper store. Across the street was an A&P grocery store. On Friday and Saturday nights in the A&P parking lot gathered an enthusiastic crowd who liked to drink and hang out and be merry. As the hours of an alcohol consumption continued, the crowd grew increasingly unruly and loud and rowdy. I called the parking lot people the hooters and hollers because their hooting and hollering filled the air on Friday and Saturday nights. I never joined the hooters and hollers. I preferred quiet, and I drank when I drank, so I opted for a bar a few doors down called the Cairo Palace. It was not in reality a palace. Far from it. The bar was a mix of beer garden, boxing ring, and cesspool. The drunks were friendly enough, except for an occasional few who came in looking for trouble. What was about to be my last night in Cairo, a couple of men came in and began hassling and beating the patrons. I intervened in an effort to end it before anyone else suffered serious harm. I believe disputes are better resolved with reason and not violence. They finally left when the police were called. Not liking what I'd seen at Cairo, I went instead to the Timeout Lounge, a nearby sports bar filled with friendly people. I felt it might be a good place to meet people. There I met Marty, the bartender. I thought her raven-haired, green-eyed beauty. She had soft lilt and gracious West Virginia drawl. Try as I might, though, she showed no interest in going out with me. Some time passed by. Although I was working quite a bit and the manager of the store tried to make me feel at home, I was feeling increasingly isolated and lonely in Moundsville. The sense of isolation was mixed with the vague feelings of emptiness and discontent. One night I cried out and asked God to send someone with whom I could share my life. My only satisfaction came from the fact that I was excelling in the training program, which took me to Moundsville in the first place. I came to Moundsville with a history of making strong, unyielding commitments to all that I undertook in life. Working at the store was no different. I was deemed one of the top trainees. Most had college degrees while I had learned the business from the bottom up. Because of my commitment and self-resolve in the training program and in the workplace, and because of the genuine respect I felt for everyone I worked with, I was able to get along well with the employees and managers. This was especially true with the store manager. Phil and I often ate lunch together. I regarded him as a great guy and a good friend. I remember it was a Ponderosa out by the Ohio River. We would go there for lunch. and we get ourselves a slab of prime rib. And we liked our prime rib. We learned to eat our prime rib just warm with the moo cooked out of it. I had a lot of fun with Phil. I respected him. But like everyone else I worked with, he was busy with family responsibility and family fun. So during my off hours, I was on my own. There are moments in time that change your life forever. And for me, it was on January 12th, 1979. I had been frequenting the Timeout Lounge with the intent of getting the bartender to go out with me. One evening after work, I stopped to get a bite to eat and make another attempt, persuade Marty to go out with me. I was looking fine in my three-piece suit and feeling an unusual degree of confidence that evening. Marty was not there, so my companion was my black velvet and coat. While sipping on my drink, a woman came in, ordered a drink, and sat a few seats from me. She had long brown hair and hazel eyes. She was about 5'8", and her face was Romanesque. She began to talk with a few other patrons about the Bible. I thought it was unique that someone would discuss God so openly in a barroom setting. I found the woman and the situation interesting. The men began to give her a rough time after a while, realizing she had no interest in being picked up. The woman's name, and the name has been changed, was Rose. She persisted in her biblical conversations. After listening for a while, for a couple of tables over, I asked if I could listen. She said sure, and she and I talked about the issues that she had discussed with the other guys. She also explained that she had been sent to Mansville a year earlier as a missionary. Now, this piqued my interest because of my love for God. I didn't walk away from Jesus, I walked away from the church. And I think a lot of people do that simply because of the lack of answer. Maybe it's a lack of answers, the seeming meaningless rituals that they have. It's kind of like, I do this just because my family did it because their family did it, but we really don't know why we're doing it at all. It's just like a habit. Rose decided to stay in town and run a Bible fellowship meetings that were held in her home. She asked me to attend. I said that I would and left the timeout soon after, fully intending to attend her next meeting. The next day I discovered I had to work during the hours of the meeting. I had agreed to attend. I was disappointed. Since Rose had not given me a phone number, I could not call it to cancel. I felt uneasy, having gone back on my word that I would attend. I worked that evening and afterwards stopped at the timeout. Rose came in and joined me at the bar. She graciously accepted my profuse apologies and I said that the next meeting would be in the evening, would be that on the following day, would be the next meeting. I asked Rose for permission to walk her home so I would know where she lived and waste no time in getting to her meeting the following evening. She agreed. I said goodbye to her at the front door, and while walking away I promised myself that I would be at Rose's place for the meeting, with bells on. Little did I know, it was a promise that would last for almost 6 years. Hey, and that's end of chapter 2 and chapter 3, Beginnings and Hook. But I want to say this, ladies and gentlemen, it could happen to anybody.